Hi, and welcome to the second episode of Educational Screencasts. I'm Paul Anderson. You can find me on Twitter at Paul Anderson, or you can find me online at theboldstandard.com. Today I'm going to talk about probably my favorite piece of educational software, and I discovered it just this year, and that's called Moodle. Moodle, if you want to find out more about Moodle, you can find it online. Best place to go to start is to moodle.org. You can learn a little bit about Moodle. They've got a great forums, and so you can get support. You can download it and install it on a server. There's also other ways that you can get it. There's commercial providers. At our school, our tech services has set up our own Moodle server. Good things about Moodle: number one, it's free, and so it's open source project, doesn't cost anything. But hopefully with all open source, you should kind of be giving back to it. That's kind of how we think about it. What does Moodle stand for? I always have to wiki this to remember what it stands for. It stands for Modular Object-Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. But the M initially stood for Martin. It was developed by this man, Martin Dujimas, we'll say. He lives in Perth, Australia. He was born exactly 1 month before me, and so that must be why he was able to accomplish so much. But let's say you want to get Moodle installed on your own. I'll talk more in another episode as to how you can set up your own Moodle server if you want to. But I would talk to your IT department at your school to get a Moodle install. Or you could go to Moodle.com. So this is the commercial arm of Moodle. And they've got a bunch of hosting options. And so each country has a number of ones. And you can find more than that. So in the United States, we've got a number of providers, so they'll set up Moodle for you. It scales really nicely, so you can go from a classroom of 30 up to like 20,000 users on a Moodle install. So that's kind of your choices as far as that goes. What are some other options out there? There's some commercial options, and I'm sure there are some free ones as well. You may have heard of Blackboard before, or WebCT, or maybe Desire to Learn. I don't even know if they're all around anymore, but it's the same kind of a thing. It's a learning system is what we call it. But I want to show you just some highlights of it and how it works. I would love to show you what I did in my classroom this year with Moodle, but due to privacy concerns, obviously I can't show you the work of my students because they're still in high school. What can I tell you about it? Man, it just changed my classroom, I would say, this year. It extended my classroom outside of the class. I teach AP biology, and the kids just ate it up, and they saw it as a way that they could kind of get a leg up on everyone else. And so I didn't require them to go to the class. It was just kind of an add-on to the class, but it kind of exploded. Some numbers that jumped to mind: I think we ended up having 100,000 modifications made to the Moodle page. I added a wiki, and there were 12,000 changes made to the wiki, and it ended up looking more like an electronic textbook than it did just a simple wiki. We added videos. I added video lectures from my class. We had forum, and just real active forum, and a couple of really cool discussions about education, and it was neat. I know I had a lot of kids who actually spent more time in my class outside of my class than during the day, and so that was pretty cool. I have set up a sample Moodle class to give you an idea of what it looks like. A sample Moodle class, normally if I were to click on participants over here, it would show me all the participants in my class. Right now it's just me, and then I've added a couple of fake kids right here. And so a nice thing about it, I would say two things that kids like. I would say one thing that kids like about school, maybe two. Number one is they love spending time with their friends. That draws all kids to school. They're real social kind of beasts. And so the nice thing about Moodle is it appears kind of like Facebook, and so it gives them that's what the kids described it as. It's like Facebook for school. And so right here I can edit my profile, I can put interests down, things that I'm interested in, I can put a picture, and then it'll kind of link me up with other students. I could maintain a blog, it keeps track of everything that I'm doing, and so that's kind of a nice part of it. It's got these breadcrumbs across the top, and so you can always go back to where you were. So I'm going to go back to my sample Moodle class, like that. Okay, so that's kind of on the left side. What is the class? Where does it come out? Most of it comes out kind of right here in the middle. And so the way I set it up in my AP class is that I have a series of units that go right down the middle. And the nice thing about that is you can just kind of focus on one unit. So I could just reveal one unit to them. And so maybe we're talking about plant transport. So I could just show that to them, or I could not. As I kind of walk you around it, so you can kind of set up your Moodle class at the beginning of the year. It has all your units, all your materials ready to go, and then as you get to it, you can kind of reveal what you found. You can see that I'm logged in right now up here. A really cool thing that you can do is you can switch your role. So I could switch my role, for example, to a student, and then I get to see what the class looks like from the side of a student. So lots of times that's a good way to troubleshoot, are they going to be able to access this or not? So I'm going to return to my normal role. As far as modifying the class is super easy. There are a series of blocks around the outside, and you can add new blocks and you can change those around. But if you want to try to turn it so you can start editing, you have to click on this button up here. It's called Turn Editing On. When I click Turn Editing On, you can see I have the same Moodle class now, but I've got a bunch of extra buttons that are attached to that. And so if we look and kind of go across here, here's my news form at the top. And so I could move that to the right. I could move it up and down. I could edit it. I could get rid of it. I could click on this and it would actually hide it so no one could see it, or I could give permissions to specific groups. And so kids don't have access to this, only teachers. And so let me show you how easy it is. Again, I just want to kind of do an introduction as far as that goes. But if I wanted to add something, for example, so right now in my class I've got a forum and I've got a wiki, and then it looks like I have a website here, so a web link to the Bold Standard. Look at all the options that you have. So I could put a link to a web page, link to a file or a website. I use that a ton, and you can also display directories, so you can put files up that you want students to have access to. I like to think of this left pull down as kind of like static material that you're going to add to your Moodle page. And then on the right side are going to be things that they can actually interact with. And so let's say, for example, I want to add a chat room to my class, which I actually did on mine. All I do is click on chat room. It's then going to ask me to name it, so we'll call this chat. It's pretty original. Chat room. And so now I just click and save and then return to the course. And so now you can see, let me turn editing off again so I can toggle that off. Now you can see that there's a chat room that's been added. And so the neat thing about Moodle is if I had students that were on, all of a sudden they would realize, wow, there's a chat room here. And so they can just click on chat room. They could enter the chat room now. And then it's going to give you a simple chat room where you could talk, hello world. And then you can kind of do that. And I actually found kids were getting together the night before exams and having little review sessions, which I thought that was pretty cool. And so it's simple, easy to add content to it. I've got forums. It's really easy to add a forum, and so you can have these wonderful discussions going on, kind of asynchronous. The wiki is something that's really, really cool, and I think I'll feature that on another episode, specifically what a wiki is and how a wiki works. You can have YouTube videos embedded in it. You can have videos that are a part of it. There's really not, I mean, you're really limited by your imagination is the best way to think about that. You can modify everything around the outside as well. So let me go over here. Each of these blocks can be added. And so, for example, if I want to add loan calculator or quiz results, I can do that on here, and it just brings up another blocks. So if I want to add, for example, a calendar to my class, then the calendar is going to show up. And if I want the calendar to be maybe up at the top, then I can just kind of move it up here. Let's see, one more time. And now I've got a calendar at the top of my class. I can turn editing off, and this is what the kids are going to see. And so it's real simple to modify it. As a teacher, you don't have to know anything about programming or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. Why is it good? It's good because it's free. It's good because kids like it. And it's good because I think it's just super easy to use. And we're finding that as teachers start to realize how easy it is, they're using it more and more and more and more. Like everything that you use in the classroom, you want to make sure that kids are able to get access at home, and that's kind of been one thing that we're wrestling with this year. I hope that helps. Again, that's my simple introduction to Moodle, and I hope to go into a little deeper content later.